Okay, so as you're reading right now, I'm sorry for the poor audio quality and the kind of poor video quality. It was the best I could do. I swear my microphone is not normally that bad.
I've been waiting to make this video for the past 5 months. So first off, we have to excuse the wire situation here. We had an issue with that Ethernet port, and I'll explain that more in a minute. But we've been messing with it, and so that's why the wires are all over the place. But anyway, so I've been working on this for the past 6 months, and most of that has been trying to find a case like this that isn't from someone who wants to just like completely molest my debit card, because like it's ridiculous. So I finally found this one at like a half decent price. I checked thrift stores everywhere and stuff like that, so I had to resort, and I couldn't find any, so I had to resort to eBay to get this thing. But anyways, that's not the point. So what is this? This is a sleeper PC, and I've been like rambling on about it to everyone in my Discord and on YouTube, I don't know, like 2 weeks, and now it's finally done, so I can finally show it off. So what do I mean by the it trying to be the most authentic sleeper PC possible? I will show you that in a minute. That's on the software side. But so I don't know, before we start this, let's just like get a quick rundown of what this thing is. So this is an old Gateway PC from 2001. From what I can tell, it was called the 1100 or maybe L1100. I don't know, I can't remember. I found like one article on it from PC Magazine from like 2001. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of information on this particular computer. The DVD drives and floppy drives do not work right this second, because they are IDE, and there are IDE to SATA converters, but they're kind of expensive. They're like 20 bucks, and I was really stretching my budget on this, so I had to make some compromises as is, and they're kind of like flaky. Some of them just seem to be very iffy, so I'm gonna have to look into that more. That's the main issue with this right now is, like I said, I was stretching my budget, so this actually does not even have an SSD, which I know some of you who maybe know what I'm talking about here is going to be like, oh, so what? Well, dude, you know what? I have high standards. So, the USB ports do work, but they're 1.0, I'd assume, which means they're very slow, so I won't use them for anything other than keyboard and mouse. And speaking of, I just have these cheap things right now just because I wanted to get it up and running. I don't know, this is just something I kind of thought was fun, so this was the original sticker that came on the PC, and then I put the new Ryzen sticker right next to it. So with that being said, let's actually look at the specs of this thing. So let's open them up. Oh yeah, and then here's all the parts that originally came with the PC. Some old Athlon CPU, some video card here. This thing was actually pretty loaded for the time. And then the one that surprised me most was it actually had a Sound Blaster card in it. I don't know if that was something that was common at the time. Like I don't know if that's something pre-built systems came with a lot, but I wasn't expecting it, so I don't know, that was just kind of cool. So inside, it's difficult to see, obviously, but go ahead and take my word for it. So because RAM is so expensive right now, there are 8 gigabytes of DDR4 in there, a Ryzen 3 1200, and a GTX 1080. Now, I know what some of you, maybe, depending on how many people see this, I know that if someone's thinking, look, dude, a Ryzen 3 is going to bottleneck the fuck out of a 1080. Yes, I know, but this is what I had. I had two 1080s in my main rig, and honestly, it does not have the ventilation or cooling to be able to handle that, and so to save some money and stuff like that, I decided, you know what, we'll put this in here. It'll still get a lot of performance out of it and stuff like that. So, and then it's also got a 3 terabyte hard drive, which houses everything on it right now. It was going to have 9 terabytes in total, but this 6 terabyte NAS drive that I had is fried, unfortunately. So that really sucks, but it is what it is. So still, 3 terabytes, that's a pretty decent upgrade over the 15 gigabyte hard drive that this thing originally came with, just a little bit. Okay, all right, let's turn it on. So I have it hooked up to this TV because this is just a secondary system for me to use when my friends come over, stuff like that. Because much as I love PC, co-op games are like non-existent. So that's mainly what this second PC is for. It's for when other people come over, to actually play co-op games. So let's turn it on. and I just had that purple LED fan lying around, so that's why that's there. It's just what I had lying around, so there's no reason I chose that color or anything. It's just that's what was there. Oh yeah, and then another thing to mention is I actually had to. Yeah, it's hard to see. Maybe you could see a little better in there. I actually had to saw out the I/O port because it was shaped like this, and the motherboard wasn't gonna fit through like that. So we had to get out a saw and saw that out. So that's not the neatest looking thing in the world, but it's okay. So here's the themed part of it. So I know this kind of gives it away. I couldn't figure out how to fix this, but this is not Windows XP. This is Windows 10. I just made some weird modifications and stuff like that with like something called Classic Shell and some stuff I downloaded from the internet, some images to make it look kind of like Windows XP, which, all things considered, I think I did a pretty decent job. So it even emulates the old start menu, but if you look at the top there, you'll see start menu Windows, and if you click that, then it will pull up the regular, so you can see it is Windows 10. But yeah, you can still obviously see the Cortana thing down there. I also replaced the this PC and recycle bin icons just because why not? Anyways, yeah, he's not Hubert, but this isn't Linus Tech Tips. I don't have $5,000 to spend on stuff like that, so I don't know, let's run a benchmark, I guess. So, I mean, yeah, I know I'm just recording this on my phone, but this is the Unigine Heaven benchmark because it's free and I don't have the money to be spending on benchmarks like I've already stated. We're getting 88 frames per second, and yeah, so, I mean, not a whole lot to see here. If you've seen this benchmark before, you can download it, it's free and stuff like that. I mean, there's like a pro version, but, I mean, you don't really need it for the type of stuff that I'm doing, so that's this. Okay, so this is the Unigine Superposition benchmark, which is the same company that made the one that I just showed you, but this one is much more recent. This one was made this year. So what you are seeing right now is 8K optimized settings, so that's 8K resolution. Now, obviously, this is just a 1080p TV, so that it doesn't matter, but it's solely for, you know, demonstration purposes. So I'll give that a second to load. So, I mean, not really a great experience in terms of frame rate, getting 21 frames per second, but to keep in mind, this is 8K resolution, even though you can't see, like, you can only see like what is like a 16th of those pixels on this display, but all things considered, that runs really well, a lot more than you'd expect from something that looks like that. I don't know, if someone ever breaks into my house, I'd say this thing's safe, so that's probably a good thing. Alright, now I got one more thing to show off that I just came up with like just now. That sounds fun, so we'll go ahead and do that real quick. Alright, so I got one more benchmark for us to run it. This is 3D Mark 2001 special edition, no, second edition, not special, my bad. So, this is a benchmarking software from 2001, which is, that's the same year that this thing was made. So, this is the type of thing that it would have, if someone were to test the system when it was brand new, this is the type of, this is probably the software they would have ran, and you can download it for free now on the 3D Mark website, and they give you, it's free and stuff like that now, so they just give you the product key and stuff like that, so you can just do that now. So we're gonna go ahead and run this. So before we do this, to give you a reference point, I looked up scores for this and I found a forum page from 2001 where people were posting their scores from this benchmark, and from what I can tell, the average it seemed to range anywhere from 800 to 3500, and from what I can assume that this thing would have been a high-end system at the time, so I can assume that this probably would have hit around the 3000 mark, probably more in that area, probably on the higher end of that range. So we're gonna run it, and I'll speed it up and you'll see the end result. Here's a fun one. I like showing this one because it likes to give off incredibly high frame rates, so we're at around 800 right now. I think the engine actually maxes out at 999. I'm not sure if it would go any higher than that. Well, maybe. Actually, I don't know why I think that. The counter, I think, stops at 999, I don't think. But maybe the frame rate itself can actually go higher, but yeah, oh, wow, look at those guys. Wow, they are scared, you can tell. Wow. Oh, poor guy. high detail. Okay, all right. So there's 21 tests. It's on number 3 right now. So we're gonna. I'm just gonna skip the majority of this. So see you in a minute. Oh my god. As you can see, that guy means business. Oh, we're about to see it in high detail. Get ready, people. I don't know. I just can't with this guy's face. All right. Okay, so our benchmark has been completed, and our system has scored 46,206. So before you take anything from that number, I don't know how exactly this score scales, like over how much when it increases. Like for say, so a system that gets say 10,000 on this benchmark would not be twice as powerful as one that scored 5,000. It's significantly more than that. So so I have another way to maybe put that into perspective. So I didn't know what type of video card this thing ran, but then I actually paid attention for half a second, and I see a GF4 MX420. So that's GeForce 4 MX420. So that's the graphics card that this is. So I looked that up, and from what as far as Wikipedia says, which that's the only source of information I can find that gives an exact number on this. So the floating point operation performance, which is flops. Now again, yes, I know that's not really a good measure of performance, but it's all I've got. So in terms of raw compute power, that thing is was capable of roughly 500 million operations per second. This GeForce GTX 1080 is capable of 9 trillion just shy of 9 trillion per second. So that's, I don't know, that shows that this is obviously not representative of a linear scaling thing. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's all I got. I did my best to make it look like it's running Windows XP, because that's that makes me really nostalgic and stuff like that. Yeah, this thing needs a couple upgrades. Honestly, once prices go down, I'd like to get 16 gigs for this thing, and then I really need an SSD for this thing. That's top of my list right now for it. But for now, it's a pretty hardy little system, and yeah. So that's all I got. So thanks for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, bye. And for those of you who are expecting a gaming video as usual, I don't know, maybe I'll do a live stream today, maybe. I don't know. Like I said, it's 3:29 in the morning, so yeah. All right, bye.